Hey, Jobins. Welcome back to a second episode of the series What the X? And you might be wondering, the second episode, when was the first episode? Well, the first episode is titled Tweets with Brendan, but because of Elon Musk taking over, rebranding Twitter to X, I felt it appropriate to change the name to something more contemporary. And that's why it is now WTX or What the X? Let me know what you think of the title. I do appreciate all the feedback that I get. Just to preface what had just happened, I actually just recorded this. So, still working on the editing and the recording, capturing the media, the content to then produce. And I had actually just done this short form podcast just now. So, I'm kind of doing a redo, but it's just as if it was brand new. And that's tackling adversity, Jobins. I didn't have to admit that I'd made that huge blunder, but I wanted to let you know everybody does it. And hey, second time's a charm, right? So we're gonna go back, we're gonna dial it in, and we're gonna go over the tweet. I guess they're still calling it tweets. I don't know if they're called X's. Maybe I'll call it an X. But a transgender individual, a transgender man by the name of the Pissed Off Lawyer, as their X handle is named, has this to say, and I wanna get everybody's opinion on this and explore it a little bit, delve into it, and just see what we think of this. Trans people are not predators just because they are trans. Every demographic has crime and criminals, every single one. Painting the whole trans community as such because of the actions of a few is intellectually lazy and hateful. I work with crime. That's my specialty. How would non-trans people who make up the overwhelming majority of crime feel if we painted all of you with such broad strokes? Do some trans people do bad things? Of course. Again, every demographic has criminals. To say we aren't safe around children, in bathrooms, or in changing areas just because we are trans is hateful and wrong. And that again is a tweet or an X from the Pissed Off Lawyer. And that was tweeted out on May 27th of 2024. So not too long ago. And I think we should just break it down step by step because there's a good point to be made. And I think I'll start with the first sentence. Trans people are not predators just because they are trans. And I think that a lot of the time, the fear that's generated, the terror, mass media, it's out there to cause a stir, right? They're trying to get ratings up. I feel like mainstream media is a cancerous aspect of society that I wish we could somehow fix. Because they do, I think, give the trans community a bad rap. Because when you get these stories about like a transgender person assaulting a woman in a bathroom or something like that, it's a very small minority of people that fall into that criminal element. Not that it doesn't happen, but I think that it's blown out of proportion because it's what's being covered by mainstream media. And I think it's fair to say that trans people aren't predators. I think a lot of predators just happen to use the guise of trans identities to get into these areas where women are especially vulnerable, like bathrooms or changing areas, as the Pissed Off Lawyer had included at the end about where people don't feel safe around trans individuals. And that is I feel like that's a shame at the end of the day. Because there's no way that the overwhelming majority of trans people are predators. That's got to be a small minority. Because just like they said, every demographic has crime and criminals. And that's true. No matter what area, like whoever you're looking at, that group of people, there's at least one bad actor in there. It's just bound to happen. And then with the news coverage, I think it just makes it worse. It's already just because the trans community is gotten a lot more visibility I think that us as a society are gradually coming to terms with more things, understanding more things, but it takes time. You know, I myself was such a opponent. You know, I did not understand, and I still to this day, I'm not going to act like I do understand what a trans person goes through. But the one thing that I kind of relate to, and for all my short keens out there, I'm sure maybe you can relate too, is the body image. You know, growing up wasn't easy. You know, I didn't feel like I was the smallest or shortest person in school, you know, but that's how it was. And it's like there were so many things that I wanted to change about myself, and my self esteem was not the highest back in middle school, high school, even elementary school, being a little kid. So when you hear about these people that have trans identities, you know, and are struggling with their mental health, it just makes me really sad because I don't know what that's like to feel like you're not in the right body, but I know what it's like to not be happy with your own body. Or I did for a long time. It took a while for me to have body acceptance and to just respect myself and who I am. And I think that's helped my happiness so much. Like finding jujitsu and everything's been great for me too. Like just feeling good about who I am in my body. And that's something that I feel like a lot of trans people struggle with too. So that's some way in which I try to like bridge that divide and say, hey, you know, I kind of understand, but again, there's so many nuances to this that I can't really even fathom, like what it feels like to feel like a woman but be a man, or vice versa. So for the trans people out there who don't feel like they have the support that they need, that's something I feel like society needs to address. And I hope that as a society, we can be better. But everything with those kind of changes is gradual because it's an evolution. So it's not like it's going to be day and night over. There's going to be struggles, there's going to be battles. And I think people like the Pissed Off Lawyer are a good way of like, you know, good voices so that people like myself, you know, who don't fully understand what it means to be trans can maybe see it from like a rational trans person state of mind, because I know a lot of people want to call them irrational or that they have mental disorders, but that I don't think that's the case, and I think that's dismissive, and I think that that just only exacerbates the problem. And I think that if we could have an open and honest dialogue, be mature about the conversations we're having around the trans identity and community, the whole spectrum of genders and everything, let's not be so quick to name call and make fun of. You know, let's try to be understanding and lend an ear. And I know that's a little unpopular in probably even the MMA field because it's more conservative based, which, hey, I got conservative values too. I'm all for small business. I'm all for, you know, not having government intrude and big brother. I hate that kind of stuff. I'm free Edward Snowden, as I said in the last one, in the last What the X, which was previously titled Tweets with Brendan. Of course, we changed that name now. But, you know, there's things that need to change. And I think there's also, just to play devil's advocate here, is that even though I feel for the plight of the trans community, the community that I also want to listen to here on this matter more so is the women's point of view. The women that feel like they're sacrificing their own safety so that we can appease the trans community by letting them feel included in going into these vulnerable areas, despite the fact that there's those few and far between stories where people are, women specifically, are in danger of men specifically who are under the guise of being trans. And maybe they really are trans, I don't know, but it just could lead to a lot of bad situations that I don't want to put a woman through. I feel like it's completely unnecessary, but again, I'm not a trans person that's affected by this. So maybe we need to come up with some kind of solution in the middle. But I mean, it's a lot going on, and I hope that as Jackie Moon, played by Will Ferrell in Semi Pro, would say, everybody love everybody. Let's join together. There's too much hate going on right now. We got a movie called Civil War. We got a movie called The Way the World Was Before, where it's all about America falling and crumbling. No, I am Team America first and foremost. And if you're not Team America, you can get out. That's my 2 cents on that. But as Americans, I think it's our civil duty to at least try to understand where people are coming from and try to make the country a better place for everybody that's in it and is a citizen. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I'm rooting for the trans community to get through the hurdles that they got to go through, just like the civil rights movement before, which was really crazy and a lot of adversity that had to be overcome. It's just the way that society kind of runs, you know. You got to take your licks and then you got to get back up. So that's really all I wanted to say about that tweet. And if anyone has any disagreements, please be respectful enough about it. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think, your thoughts. Like maybe women in sports too, you have a outcry about, you don't like that, which I understand. There's some things that are just like scientifically proven to be advantageous for men with like muscle and stuff like that. But also, I've gotten my ass kicked plenty of time by chicks. Again, I'm not the standard for peak male performance as much as I'd like to say, but there's definitely some badass women out there, and maybe public opinion will change once we see more women kicking ass, more than that already are. But anyway, to end this short little video here, this What the X episode 2, I want to leave you guys with a quote from Abraham Lincoln, and I think he would have tweeted this or X'd it if he was alive today. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic chords of memory will swell when again touched, as surely they will be by the better angels of our nature. And that was Abraham Lincoln's ending, his closing statement to his inaugural address when he was sworn in as president. This was right before the Civil War on March 4th, 1861. I wrote down the date. I thought it was important because I know there's a lot of tension in the U.S. right now, left, right. And I just want to say that let's get over the sides. Let's be on one side together, as Abraham Lincoln wanted it to be. Let's not be enemies, guys. Jobins, if you're out there, spread a little positivity. You know, that shit's infectious. Let's make sure that we can get this to be a more positive world. And if I can get that message out there, that's something, you know, I can be proud of. And I appreciate the support out there in the community. Let's really just make this a better place to live in for our kids and our kids' kids, you know? So let's try to be a little bit more like Abraham Lincoln and set aside our differences so that we can have a better tomorrow. This has been a second episode of What the X? I appreciate you guys, and then we're going to keep this going. Can't wait for the third episode. Have a good night, Jobins.